everyone, and welcome to Service Design Drinks.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Just wait for everyone to come online. We'd love to see your faces if you feel comfortable and in a place to turn your camera on. Hi, Frank. I don't know if that was a wave or if you were just adjusting your camera. Yay. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and we'd love to hear in the chat as people are still coming online. We'd love to hear where you are, especially, and if it's your first time joining Service Design Drinks Berlin. While we just wait a couple of minutes to get everyone online, please open up the chat. Yay, happy 2022. Wonderful. I feel like there's new faces. I'm not sure if we have. Hi, Marty from Berlin.
Hi, Emma.
I'm in Berlin as well. My name is Dee. We'll introduce ourselves in a second. And Nick is there as well. Nick is joining us today as our guest speaker. Going to hear a lot from him in a second.
We've got kids from London. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you from, Nick? I think I know.
Where am I from?
Yeah.
I'm from Brighton on the south coast of England.
Cool, cool, cool. I think I knew that. From Moscow.
Wow, where are you from,
cool.
Dee?
You know.
What, Sydney?
Yeah, Australia.
Sydney. Okay.
And maybe we just quickly say Marty and Adam as well. Marty and Adam are co-organizers of Service Design Drinks. Marty, where are you from?
I'm from Argentina.
Cool. And Adam,
Buenos Aires, specifically.
I'm from Melbourne, but I'm in Berlin. Yes.
Yay. We're all from different places. Lots of people here from Berlin, which is where we're based. So this makes sense. But it's great to have some people coming from different places as well. So I'm going to kick off and really welcome everyone now. Okay, so welcome everyone. Keep posting in the chat as well where you're from and saying hi to each other. Welcome to Service Design Drinks Berlin. I want to check first, does everyone have a drink? And it doesn't have to be alcoholic. I do have a glass of wine with me, but it can obviously be anything. But Service Design Drinks has always been gathering around the social custom of having a drink together. So we'd love it if you don't have a drink, now is the time, whether it's a coffee, if it's the morning hours for you, or a tea or a water or anything, grab a drink, make sure you're feeling comfortable. Have a sip, okay, getting comfortable, and make sure you have a drink and you're ready to go and learn a lot. So Service Design Drinks is all about learning and sharing information, hearing stories, especially from other people that are similar to us or from completely different worlds to us, but they can bring something to our service design world and help us advance and see other perspectives. But we really love to really keep these principles in everything we do at Service Design Drinks. Inclusion, making sure that everyone feels included, no one feels excluded. Meeting people, so we can have a little bit of networking in the session as well as hearing this great story from Nick, story he's currently going through. We want it to be about leveling up, about really learning something that can help you progress, or sharing something, or meeting people that can help you level up as well. Sharing and learning, I've said 3 times already, and connecting with each other and having a drink, even when we're not in person. Maybe we get to be in person again pretty soon. Who is behind Service Design Drinks? That's myself, you see on the screen there, but also 3 other people. Marty and Adam are here with us as well. And Mela can't be with us tonight, but there's 4 of us. We've been doing this for 2.5 years. Is that right, guys?
Give or take.
3? Yeah, 2.5 years.
If you include the jams, I've been doing it for 8 years. But yeah.
Exactly. We also used to run the Global Service Jam here in Berlin as well for 5+ years. So we've been doing a lot of things together. Marty, would we like to do like quick introductions? Marty, would you like to introduce yourself?
So in case you didn't hear, hi, I'm Mati. I'm from Argentina, specifically from Buenos Aires. I've been living here in Berlin for like 12 years now, and I'm a design manager at Zalando.
Yay,
Yes.
Marty. Mela isn't with us today. She's took a new role quite recently, which we're all super excited about. She's a design director at Eden Spiekerman. Yay, Mela. Sorry you couldn't be here tonight. And Adam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm a senior service designer or senior product designer also at Zalando. And I brought Marty along. So if you want to come join us, I'll have to get Mela to join us at Zalando. But if you want to join us, you can come talk to me later.
Lots of opportunities in this crowd and in this community to get jobs, learn about jobs, get recruited, especially when you work at Zalando and you have a recruitment bonus. You really like bringing people in. So you can really keep an ear out. At the end, also, we have a little section for kind of stuff from the community, notices from the community. So if you're looking for a job or have a job to offer, and I think Adam and Marty both will like say, yeah, cool, we have these things on offer, talk to us. There's lots of opportunities for that in this crowd. And my name is Dee, and I'm a freelance innovation coach, design thinking strategist person. I've been freelance for a couple of years. It's been a nice journey, but it's great to meet you all and great to have you here today. Oh, did we hear in the chat how many people, did people say if it's their first time? I'd love to hear in the chat, just to like hands up, maybe even just put a little hands up icon to see how many people we have here for the first time. Okay, so tonight's event is going to be how to quit your job and start a company. And we're going to hear from the wonderful Nick, who we've known for a long time, Nick Morgan-Jones. And we're going to hear from him in a little bit and hear who he is, what his background is, and what Decibels is as well, and the story of him quitting his job to start this thing. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of getting to know each other. So we're going to do some little breakout rooms for those who haven't done this before. I think everyone maybe has now. Just a little breakout room so we can really have a little bit more personal connection before we kind of sit and listen to a story. So we're going to break into groups of 3, or it might be 4, depending on the numbers, with the prompting question for you to discuss after you've just introduced yourselves and said like what you do and things like that. Little question. Maybe you're already thinking of literally doing this and that's why you're here. But if not, if you would ever quit your job to start your own thing, company, product, whatever it might be, what would it be and why? It's a little prompt for you to discuss and get to know some of your peers in the community here today. So Marty, could I ask you to get that room going? And we're going to have about 7 minutes. So if there's 3 or 4 people in the room, keep that in mind and don't talk for the whole 7 minutes, and divide that time up around you and see if you can like really get to know someone and discuss this topic that we're going to be discussing here tonight. Like, what would you start and why, and maybe what your fears or questions or doubts would be about doing that. Okay, you ready to go, Marty? Oh. Oh. Sorry,
people are joining the rooms. People
okay.
have been invited to the rooms, and some people have already started joining the rooms. Feel free to join them if you haven't yet. You should have an invite on top of your screen.
Thanks, Marty. I couldn't see the screen to see what was happening. I think I see a couple of people not joined, but maybe it's because their connection is actually bad. Okay. So Adam's joined as well. Kevin's iPhone hasn't joined. You guys are thinking, because Kevin's probably on his phone and he maybe can't join in the room.
I guess some people are just doing other things as well, not always talking.
Yeah. Okay. I set myself a 5-minute timer because there's no timer. It'd be nice if you could actually set the time box on it. So now we have like 5 minutes or so. Want to talk about anything?
What would you do if you're going to start a company?
Yeah.
See, I'm interested. If you're going to start a company, what would you do? Why?
I really like some of the things that I've discussed with you. Is I really don't know that I ever would, because it just seems pretty intense.
I'll give you every reason why you shouldn't as well.
I think I would, I think I would wait till there was something that I just couldn't not, like, kind of like you, like, I just couldn't not do. It's like, this needs to happen. If anyone's joining us back again, like, let us know. Okay. Yeah, what about you, Mati?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it right now. I had a similar thought, like I would never, because there's nothing that I feel so drawn towards. However, I would like to do something around education. So that might be the trick. That might be the thing that I would like to do. But there's nothing besides that that right now feels important enough to actually do it by myself. So to, yeah.
I have these.
I think interestingly, like given, I think it looks like all three of us are product people, and we're looking for problems to solve rather than businesses to start. And I think that's a really interesting point, because some people just want to be a founder.
Yeah,
a lot of people do, and not everyone does. But it seems like, I mean, I guess we'll talk about this a lot, but I'm driven to be a founder. Sorry, I'm not driven to be a founder. I'm driven to solve a problem with a product. And so I think passion is pretty important for me to do that.
Yeah, yeah. But so when you, are we done on time or?
No, I just, every time I touch my laptop, it changes. It's super sensitive.
Okay.
I can't even move my mouse around to like move the chat window because.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Nick, like, I know maybe we'll already talk about it later, but in that regard, you wanted to solve a problem, but then you got yourself into creating a business, you know?
Sticky situation.
Right, so are you still solving a problem, or are you now only creating a business?
That's a very good question. I literally see it as the only way to solve this problem is to start a business. So I don't think they are like completely separate. But I think you're absolutely right. I think it's very easy to get sucked into, like you start out trying to build a product, and then like you end up just doing fundraising and like business plans and pitch decks and all this stuff, which is not building a product. But I think it's all about getting to the point where you've taken the product as far as it can go without needing to do everything else. Like, I think that's just like at least that's the situation that I feel myself in, like building a hardware product as well. It's just, there's only so much one can do in their bedroom.
Yeah.
A few people, someone's just joined, so I'm wondering.
Yeah, I guess some people are just joining the
a little bit late,
the
maybe.
link, the call link. Yeah. Hi Nicholas. Hi Sam.
Oh.
No, I didn't do. I didn't do
people are scared because it's just a few of us. Oh, it's self-assigned.
Yeah, this is Zoom's magic. Yeah. What's the timer, Dee?
Yeah, we've got 1 minute. There was 1 minute left of 5 minutes, but
okay.
You think like it feels long enough?
No, I don't know. I was just wondering, because I just asked a question to Nick, and I thought that would be a really interesting answer to also get from, like, in general for everybody else.
Yeah.
It's a whole conversation, only that answer to me, at least.
Yeah, sure.
Which question was it, Marty, that you asked?
Like, how far are you still solving the problem now that you're building a business, you know? Like creating fundraisers and pitch decks and all these things sucks you up, and then all of a sudden your initial thing starts to dilute.
How much are you still getting to focus on the problem? That kind of.
And I really love the answer. Go as far as you can without doing the rest.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 5 minutes went up. So I feel like maybe giving them a 1 minute timer now is good.
Bring them
close the rooms, yeah?
They'll get 1 minute to come back.
I close all rooms. Yep.
Can I put this chat over here? Yes, I can. Great. So we might have some people starting to pop back if they finish talking early. They can exit the room.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yay, welcome back. Hope you had nice discussions.
Hope we didn't stop them and break them all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay, some people coming back. So we're going to ask now just a few minutes to like people who would like to share what would they start and why? Like, what were some of the things you discussed, especially if you're not already thinking about like, right, I've got my business plan and I'm doing this. But if you really had that discussion, you're like, oh, you know what, I think I would do this and why. I'd love to hear from, we still have other people slowly joining.
Meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thanks. Hopefully already.
We're back.
We're back. Hi, welcome back, everyone. Is that the full minute now?
Yep.
So we'd love to hear, just like for a couple, like minute or two, was like what happened in that discussion. Does anyone want to share what they would start and why, especially if it's not something you've actually been thinking about doing, but this new kind of question? What would you start if you quit your job and wanted to start your own thing? You can nominate someone else to share theirs if they had an interesting one as well. Or any questions, even more like maybe more interesting, big questions.
I guess.
Down. Yeah, go.
I guess I can just go. So I've already started my own company, and I'm kind of doing it as a side hustle, I guess. And yeah, it's pretty awesome to kind of be on this like entrepreneurial journey and get those learnings as kind of a side hustle. So it has its ups and downs, obviously, but yeah.
What's the thing? Can you tell us, or was it like a big secret?
No, it's not a secret. Actually, I kind of started two businesses. So the first one was like it's difficult to explain. It was like a 3D camera that I developed, and then I offered event productions and like photo advertising productions. That was the first business. Unfortunately, like I think 75% of the business was like the event productions, and during Corona, that didn't happen, so I had to shut down the business, unfortunately. And after that, I started to pivot a bit to software, and I developed an app and I put that to the App Store. That was my second business that I started.
Okay, wow, sounds like this maybe this conversation with Nick is going to be really interesting for you as well. Anyone else have something that thanks very much for sharing. Anyone else have something that would be something that they would start if they could, but they haven't quit their job yet to do it? Or questions? The questions in the registration form when you all signed up, we asked these few questions like, what are your biggest fears or doubts about if you would start your own thing, quit your job and start your own thing? And we had some great questions that we're going to really go through also with Nick today. And most of them were really around doubts and fears of, what if I can't do it? What if I can't be successful? That was one big category. How would I manage financially? How do you get funding? How do you make enough of a living while you're still kind of getting things off the ground? So a lot of stuff about this. How do you get started financially if you quit your job and you don't have a salary anymore? And then a lot of also doubts about just what to do, how to actually get started. And I know Nick won't have the silver bullet answer for everyone because that doesn't exist, but we're really going to hear Nick's story and journey and what he's done and what he's learned and what he tried and what he changed his mind about. So I hope this is going to be really, I know it's going to be really interesting because I've talked to Nick about this a lot, but I hope it's going to be valuable for everyone. So let's meet Nick. And the topic today is how to quit your job and start a company. We've just been talking about it. Nick is an I don't know if you think about yourself this way, an ex-UX UI designer who's a really fantastic UX UI designer and is now the creator of Decibels, which we're about to hear all about. And I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see you. And Adam, would you help me out with doing the spotlighting, please? And we can really see me and Nick's faces. And Nick, I'd love to start with just some getting to know you stuff. Maybe you can just do the quick, we're going to get to hear a lot about you. So maybe you can do a 1-minute intro, literally who you are and what you're doing today and what does that kind of involve?
Absolutely. Yeah. So hi, I'm Nick, and I'm from the UK and I've been living in Berlin for the last 7 years. And I actually started this project that I guess we'll talk about today while I was at university, as one of my kind of course assignments. And then when I left university, I figured that this was probably not the right time to start a business because I was terrible at everything. So I wanted to get some experience first. And for the last 7 years, I've been working in startups and agencies to be a UX designer, designing digital products.
Yay. And we're going to hear a lot more about literally what you're doing today in a second, but that was perfect. A few other little fun kind of getting to know you questions. And I picked from our like preset list, just a few. If you were to invite anyone to dinner, if you could invite anyone dead or alive to dinner, who would it be and why?
So hard. Maybe like Malcolm Gladwell, the author. I feel like I could just listen to him talk for hours just about stuff, just anything, and he just knows about everything.
99%.
He's done, I think, one called Revisionist History.
Oh, that's it.
But he's done like a few books called like The Tipping Point, like how cultures can go from like a few people to like millions of people at a certain amount. Then Outliers, yeah, I think that's my favorite book. It's kind of talking about why certain people and certain things became successful. And it's not all about talent. It's a lot about just perfect timing. So I think one of the things was like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were born in the same year, which allowed them to kind of go through university at the time when software development was like in its absolute infancy. And so of course there's so much of the skill and everything which made them successful, but the timing that kind of comes with it is also super important. But there's a lot of really good anecdotes in that book.
I've heard of that book and I've never read it. Oh, good. Someone like, thanks, Adam, posting the links to those books. Oh yeah, can you find the links to the books as well, Adam? It's like the post about, yeah, okay. I've listened to Revisionist History, but I haven't read any of his books, so okay, maybe I will now. Okay, great answer. So a couple more little quick questions about you. What's your most prized possession?
Probably my piano.
Well, loved. Oh,
I have a piano over there.
Yeah, sure.
Woo!
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. I didn't know you had a piano. You have a really nice room.
Favorite thing. Thank you.
Cool. Do you play a lot?
Well, I'm self-taught, which means I'm terrible, but I play for me and not for anyone else. And so I enjoy it. So that's important.
That's really provides a sense of value to us when something really is giving something back to ourselves rather than being like,
I'll serenade you one day, Dee.
Yay. I'm there tomorrow. Okay, last little quick question. What was your very, very, very first job? Like not your first job after university, but the very first thing where you ever had to like
I was washing up dishes in a local pub.
Wow.
I think on my first day, I turned up and then like 15 minutes in, I got like a migraine headache. And then I was just like outside, like sitting on like an old beer crate with my head like in my hands. And the boss was like, good job today. All right, let's try again next week.
That sounds really
that was my first job. And then I worked in a supermarket. So it's been very interesting first jobs.
Yeah, I've got similar stories too. It's like not the most exciting things. Okay, so let's start to get into like understanding your professional life or like your history in this world that we're about to talk about. So for people who don't know, can you give us the like little 3-minute, because we're going to go into this a bit more, I think the 3-minute description of literally so that kind of after university journey that you've been on, like the different jobs that you've had, almost like a 3-minute rundown of your LinkedIn, and we can understand your journey.
Yeah, so I studied product design engineering at university, which is basically like industrial design. And I decided that I didn't really want to become an industrial designer straight away. So I went back to my parents' house and sat at the kitchen table looking for UX design jobs because I realized there's probably a bit more money in that. And I guess ultimately the design process, while the medium is different, the design process is kind of similar, whether you're designing physical products or digital products. And And I'm also super interested in psychology. So I think UX design is very kind of like closely related to that. So I'm sitting at my parents' kitchen table applying for jobs in London and didn't really do very well there. And my sister was just in Berlin visiting a friend, and I Googled design jobs in Berlin. And the first one I applied for, they said, can you start on Monday? So I'd never even been to Germany, and I flew to Germany to start a job at a like transport software startup called Door to Door. And so they made like kind of like what Google Maps is now, like City Mapper. How do you get from A to B? And so I did that for a couple of years, being an in-house product designer. And then I joined a very small consultancy. I was like the first employee in a, well, now 3-person consultancy, designing and kind of consulting on digital products, often for kind of a lot of large German corporates. So we did one media application for Volkswagen Group, which was quite interesting, but just like very different, going from a startup world to a corporate world. And then I joined IXDS, where I met Adam actually. And IXDS is a kind of design innovation consultancy agency. And some parts of that was like service design related things, but I was focused on interface design. So designing apps, sometimes for startups, sometimes for larger corporates, and all in kind of a pre-product world. So kind of more like MVP, what's the first thing that someone can do? They've got maybe an idea or a problem or some technology. What's the first step in creating a product out of these things? And then on the 1st of January 2021, I quit my job.
Yeah. And we're really about to get into that. So that's perfect. That's really the next thing. But I just wanted like quickly just make a comment on that history. It's like, so you've gone from startup to corporate to agency, which I think this is common for designers. I actually would love to know in the chat also what roles, because we don't only have often have only designers or even just service designers coming to this event. With people from all different things. I would love to, if people can put in the chat what your role actually is, like maybe you're a user researcher, maybe you're a UI designer, or maybe you're coming in from a different field because you're really interested in service design, which happens a lot. So I'd love to start seeing that in the chat and see who's here and what roles you have. But I think this happens a lot with designers. I have the same story as well of like different types of companies. I don't know if you chose that intentionally to have different experience, a different take on the world. Yeah, I think it's a common thing, and it's a great way to get experience and see how things work. Yeah.
I completely agree. Actually, Adam said something very interesting when I was at IXDS. And Adam, so I'd been working, he's a knowledge person. I previously worked in a product-based startup. So a startup which builds a product, and everything that startup cares about is how this product solves a particular problem. And then kind of going to a consultancy and then an agency, which are kind of in a similar space. It was kind of difficult going from project to project, where you kind of put your heart into something for 7 weeks and then go into another one and then another one. Adam said the difference: in a product company, you fall in love with the product. In the agency, you have to fall in love with the process. And I really like that kind of, the process becomes that much more important, because that's what you're selling to a client. That is the product. And I think I learned a huge amount in that. Incredibly wise, Adam. And yeah, I learned a lot kind of like transitioning from one to the other. I think when you're in a product company, you're building something for the long run. Like, so every kind of thing you're doing, you're really thinking, sometimes months or years ahead. And in agencies, you're thinking, how can you achieve a goal and sell confidence to a client at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's really wise, Adam. I shouldn't be surprised. That's really, I feel like that's really it, because you don't get to fall in love. When you work for an agency, you just keep having to say goodbye to things. You keep having to leave what you're working on and hope that people look after it after you're done with it. Okay, so you really had this kind of really nice mix that I feel like must have been pretty good for you to get, even though maybe you weren't intending or planning. Maybe you were thinking about it when you finished university, but maybe you weren't planning it that way, but you got all this great experience from all these different kind of ways of working that might have helped you to kind of have knowledge to start your own thing and kind of know how these systems work. So
definitely,
let's get into that journey really. So since quitting your job, I want to know first. So I really want to go through it, like quit your job, and then I know this story is already like the first thing that happened, and then what you tried next. But before you quit your job, was there a decision? What was in your mind about how did you really decide, I think now is the time, I'm going to write that resignation letter? Like, how did you get there to feel sure about that?
Well, I mean, like, I wanted to solve this problem for a long time. That's been like really important to me. I started doing that at university. And I kind of knew that at some point in the future, I'd focus my energy around solving this problem. That didn't necessarily mean focus my energy on starting a company. That was kind of part of what the solution was there. But as I kind of got, I guess, further through my career, what I found is like the first 5 years of my career was learning to be a better designer, learning to be a better professional. And that was the goal. Like, I wanted to get paid, so I go out on the weekends, and I wanted to learn so I could be better at my job. After around 5 years, I feel like, I don't want to say like it plateaued, but it kind of got to a point where like now it's about specializing. So now I'd be like, I have to try to aim towards becoming a design manager or aim towards becoming something or other. And none of these things really excited me in the same way, because of course you would continue learning, but it wasn't incredibly driving to kind of aim for those things. And that was where I, instead of wanting to focus my energy on being better at my job, it was more, I want to try and focus whatever I've learned over the last 5 years on something that I care about. So I was looking at other jobs that may be more aligned with my personal values, things that I was, things I love. Like, I'm really into music. So I was like, oh, maybe I should work at Spotify or something. I mean, this is suddenly like, it's a change of direction. It's not just being a designer. It's like doing design for something I care about. But yeah, this personal project is something incredibly personal to me. And to be completely honest, when I finished university, I was like, this is such an obvious business. Someone else is going to do this.
Yeah.
And 6 years later, no one did it. So I was like, fine, I'll do it. And so there was that part. And then, how are you ready to start a business? Now, I've been talking to a number of people for a while. And so the first 2 jobs I did were like 5 days a week. And when I joined IXCS, this is a 4-day-a-week company. And this was amazing. But a big reason why I joined was because I wanted to use that 5th day of the week to really explore whether or not I wanted to do this. And so I used a lot of my 5th day. So every Friday, I did things like the Y Combinator Startup School. And that is like a free kind of Zoom-based accelerator program. That's cool. I applied to like all these massive accelerators and got rejected from all of them. And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, this is the right thing to do or not. And I just had a lot of conversations with people about wanting to do this. And it was constantly, I'm never ready. And I think every single person who's ever started a business says no one is ever ready to start a business. The only way you can become ready is just to start, and then you learn all the things you need to learn. So, I mean, and then I applied for another accelerator, a very small one. I got accepted, and that allowed me to quit my job.
Yeah. Okay. So this was the moment when you actually made the decision to quit your job, was when you got accepted into this accelerator. So this is kind of step number 2, almost in the journey. And do you know what? I'd love to get links in here for people who like are you guys looking at Adam and Marty, the Y Combinator Startup School, was it? And
Y Combinator Startup School.
And then what was the name of this, the accelerator that you actually ended up doing?
Yeah, so this one was called Design Farm Berlin. And I mean, like, if there's anything that I can do to kind of advise people on, is there's actually loads of free money out there. People want to give people money. And I didn't realize this. I spent ages looking, and it wasn't until I got like accepted onto Design Farm that I realized there were probably better free money opportunities out there for what I was doing. If you're based in Berlin or actually, I think if you're based anywhere in the European Union, the EU puts a certain amount of money towards like startup funds, and the Berlin Senate has like a certain chunk of that, and they allow different self-made organizations to create their own little accelerators. And so this is all from the ESF, so European Social Funds. And this will mean that you can get 2,000 euros a month for, I think, somewhere between 6 and 9 months, depending on where you go, in order to start a business. And all, these people can be, so each of these organizations will be based around certain things of the organization's choosing. So Design Farm Berlin was, we want to put money towards design focused ventures. There is like a Bosch one, which I think does actually a number of different technology ones. There's a healthcare one, which I probably might have actually been a better direction for me. Like, but I didn't even learn about this one until after I started the Design Farm one.
Someone in the chat just posted Vision Health Pioneers. Is that
Vision Health Pioneers? That's the one.
Yeah.
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 So I think there's something like 19 different incubator accelerators, which are government funded just in Berlin. But they're all around, they're all over the place. And I mean, yeah,
free money.
It's free money. It's free money.
Like what?
It's free money.
Is there, do you know, I mean, maybe this doesn't exist, but is there like literally a kind of website that's like, here's all the places you can get free money, people? No, because that would,
I don't think so, but like it's called the Startup Stipendium. Like it's a startup scholarship. So I think if you just Googled like startup scholarship, then a number of these organizations would appear, and you have to apply to them. But I mean, for me, it was like write a page of A4 like of what you're doing, and then give like a little pitch presentation about it. But you're like the Design Farm one is run by the Weissensee Hochschule University. So it's like these like university lecturers running it. It's not like a big venture capital scary firm.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot easier to get on than it can often look.
Yeah, I think this is already a huge kind of takeaway for people of you. And the thing you pointed out there was like, okay, they want to, you've got to write up like, okay, what are you doing? Write up a page of like what you're doing and maybe have a pitch deck ready. But if someone is like you and in their job and thinking, could I do my own thing? Could I? You kind of don't, it sounds like from your story, you don't have to be sure. You can apply for all these things, get that one-page description, get your pitch deck, and just start applying. And I'm sure they have intake dates of different things. Start applying while you have a job and just see what hits. And then, this is a really great, super great takeaway.
I think like also it really depends what you're working on. I mean, I'm building a hardware product, which is really hard.
Hardware.
And it requires a lot of capital. I think the problem I'm solving, I mean, I think everyone will say the problem they're solving is harder than anyone else's, but like the problem I'm solving required a lot of time for me to think it through and get it to a point where I feel like it's getting closer to investment ready. But like if I was designing an app, which I guess I already have a lot of experience to do that, it would be like, just start building that on the weekend. You don't always need a huge amount of, you don't need a finished product to even get investment sometimes. And you can quit your job later on. But another alternative, like the job seekers, like the Arbeitslosengeld, kind of the government state money, that I think it's called Gründerzuschuss, which is like founders. I don't know the translation, but it's like
you can in different countries. This is like instead of unemployment benefits, it's you want to start a company.
Money to start a company, which is like from the government, and I'm sure a lot of other countries will do the same. You just have to send like a small business plan, and they will give you I guess probably similar to Arbeitslosengeld, 60% of your previous salary to have a go doing it. It's like there is free money out there.
Yeah.
And if you, it's all about kind
Move
of
to
just looking
Berlin,
for it and
everyone.
asking.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so I think this is a good time to actually look, because on the registration on the page, there was this video a little bit about what you're doing, but people might not, I think, really know. So this might be a good time. And then I want to jump back into this story of like, how did that accelerator go? What did you learn? What did you do next? But does that sound like a good flow, Nick, to like show actually what your idea is, which is obviously the more developed version now of your product?
Yeah, so I think maybe like this would just give a bit of context to everything that's going on. So I'm working on a project called Decibels, and we're designing hearing enhancers for people who don't want to wear hearing aids. And I'm just gonna find this screen which has disappeared. Oh, here we go. 1 second.
No worries.
Here we go.
Okay,
so this is the website that we have. So this whole problem stems from the fact that I've needed hearing aids my whole life, well, since the age of 10, and completely refused to wear them the whole way through school because I didn't want to be someone who wears hearing aids. And I was always super jealous of everyone who had bad eyesight because they could just get a pair of designer glasses and that was cool. And I had to wear these disabled hearing aids and I hated it. And so I just feel like, why doesn't the hearing loss world have the equivalent of designer eyewear for hearing tech? And there is nothing out there. The whole industry at the moment focuses on making hearing aids as small as possible and telling everyone who has hearing loss that they should be trying to hide them. And I think this just implies that you should be ashamed of it. And is probably the biggest reason why 80% of people who could benefit from hearing aids don't wear them. So this is about like 380 million people around the world who could benefit from hearing aids, but they don't wear them. And I think the social stigma is probably one of the biggest reasons. Well, probably is definitely one of the biggest reasons. So what we're doing is designing visible, unapologetically visible hearing wearables, which have medical grade hearing technology inside, but we've made them purposely visible. So they're no more intrusive than glasses frames, and they just improve speech clarity. So if you have any kind of deficiency in your hearing, it will take like the external muffled sounds on the outside, program it and EQ it to your specific hearing profile, and let you just hear the world with a lot more clarity. And so these are just wearables that are like similar to your AirPods, similar to hearing aids, but a big thing is that we don't want to call them hearing aids because no one wants hearing aids. So these are decibels. They're hearing wearables. And yeah, this is what I've been working on for the last year.
Okay, this is a great intro, and please start asking questions in the chat, and we'll like pop your questions in. So if you have questions literally about anything as we're going through, what like about this product, about accelerators, all this kind of stuff, please put them in the chat. But this is perfect, Nick, and I kind of want to jump in now because like a lot of things, like the mission that you're on, what you just explained of having this kind of this challenge of creating this product that's just so much better than what people have to deal with existing like in the current world, which is either we're hearing aids and I'm embarrassed about them, or it's just like I'm trying to hide them, and they're intended to be hidden and intended for me to feel like I don't need people to see them, or I have some hearing deficiency like I myself do and really have trouble and have to keep asking people. I just had lunch with someone in a cafe today and I was constantly leaning over asking them to repeat themselves. So there's two sides. Either I'm hiding my hearing aids and like trying to say them, or I kind of would be able to use them, but I don't feel like they're for me because I don't need hearing aids. And so this really difficult position. And then I want to go back to your journey. So going through the accelerator, and then what came, like the journey that you took then on your own and taking now on your own next. And I'd love to hear like that thread of what things you've tried, what you've done through that. So maybe back to how was the accelerator?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, the accelerator didn't accelerate me in quite the way I would have hoped. However, what the accelerator gave me was 2,000 euros a month, every month for a year, which gave me the most valuable thing, which is time. And I was just trying to work out what it is that I'm even doing. And maybe like a preface to this is that I didn't set out to start a company. I just wanted to really solve this problem. Like, I think it's possible to have hearing technology that is not looking like a hearing aid. I'm so sure it's possible. The answer to that doesn't necessarily need to be start a company. It could be kind of maybe design something and sell that design to another company and get them to build it. Or there's a number of kind of different options to go forward here. And what the accelerator gave me was a year to kind of work out what I was actually trying to do. And I think that was the most valuable thing I could have asked for at that point. So the accelerator was like, there were like a number of other kind of university graduates who joined the accelerator and like fresh out of university. I mean, if I was fresh out of university starting an accelerator, like I think being compared to being 6 years into a job, like you have a very different understanding of what you can and can't do. And so I think I wasn't necessarily surrounded by other like super experienced people. Not to discredit anyone who like have already been designing incredible stuff within their programs on the accelerator. I just don't think the accelerator really gave me a huge amount of like business acumen to grow from. But I'm sure like, there's plenty of other incubator accelerators out there on that kind of list of the 19 in Berlin that would provide like more value in very specific areas. So for instance, like the Vision Health Pioneers would do a lot more kind of like health sector focused things with professionals in that area. I think the one that I was focusing on was more kind of like, hey, you've been a trained designer. What's now the transition from being a designer to a business person?
Maybe for that specific scenario, if we know you've already got some knowledge, because this is a program for designers, but then maybe they didn't like guide you every step of the way. Like, no, here's where you need, like, here's all the business stuff, here's all the tax information you need to know, here's how you should develop this product. But rather,
I'm still trying to work that tax stuff out now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's no answers for that. Everyone who starts something doesn't know that answer. But so after that accelerator, so it sounds like it was still good it gave you this time to be like, oh, I could pay my rent, which you know, there's a ton of the questions that came through in the registration were, how do I still pay my rent? Like, how do I figure out, like, what if I would need to hire someone to do something like 2,000 euros a month, which sounds, if you're not living in Berlin, that sounds like not very much at all. But if you do live in Berlin, that's enough to pay rent and to live. So just that time that gives you to say, oh, cool, I don't have to stress I have to like think about things.
Probably more stress than I've ever had, but like, but it's good stress. It's good stress. And I mean, also just going to touch on the finances side of it. Like, I was working 5 days a week and getting paid like a pretty good salary. And then I went 4 days a week and got paid 80% of that. And then I went to 7 days a week working on what I'm doing now, getting paid, or currently nothing. And so I think, you know, a part of that process is, you know, if you really want to work on something, you have to compromise on certain things. And I very much have to compromise on salary. And I think that's all kind of just a part of it. And there will be a grind, and you have to graft like early on. And I think that's just part of what it's like if you want to do anything difficult. Wouldn't be that much of an achievement if it wasn't that hard, I guess.
Yeah, everyone would do their own thing because it would be easy, and you've got a lot to sacrifice. It really means that you've got to be passionate and you've got to be driven to do what you want to do. But I know, so I know you did also some bootstrapping, really, like, especially after the accelerator. Is that right? Like, where you're like, okay, now I've got to still have the time to work on the thing, and I haven't sold the products yet. So what did you do there to, like, and what are some learnings from that?
Yeah, so I mean, like, this accelerator was quite a long process. Like, I got 12 months of funding, which was amazing. And this gave me time like to focus on what I actually wanted to do. You know, part of that was exploration, but then like throughout that 12 months, I did have a bit more of a plan of how to actually move forward. But I also kind of realized that, you know, I'm going to run out of money at some point, so I need to kind of try and think forward a little bit. So I was freelancing on my weekends to kind of start building up a bit of a buffer, so that once the accelerator finishes and I've been living off my £2,000 a month, then I have I've got a bit to keep going. And now I'm 3 months into, or close to 4 months into 2022, and I'm living off that buffer now. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's it will run out eventually.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it was all about, like, I'm constantly thinking about how can I prolong the time that I spend on the project that I'm working on. And so this was like, I'm gonna have to not work for, like, there was a period at the end of last year where I didn't work on my project for 4 weeks, just so I could do a freelance project for 4 weeks, which would give me enough money to actually work, to live like a couple more months, like on this side of the new year. So it was all about kind of, but all the time I spent freelancing was time that I wasn't spending working on my project and getting it closer to a point where I could get investment. So maybe that's like a good point as well. Like, what was the goal? And the goal throughout the investment, the accelerator period, was how can I continue working on this project?
Yeah.
And realistically, that's going to require a financial element. So that could either be start a company and get investment, or that could be hired by another company, maybe a hearing aid company, to build the product that I want to build, and they would then pay me a salary to do that. There are like a few different options going forward, but I think it kind of became clear over the year that hearing aid companies haven't managed to even get close to solving this problem in the last like 50 years. So I wouldn't really trust them to suddenly have a great idea to do it now. So I kind of figured maybe like the best way to do it would be for me to do it myself. And so the goal became, how can I get investment to pay for this project? And I guess I am part of that project, so there will be a salary involved in whatever that investment is. Probably not a very big one, but
this is a big topic.
So that's the focus.
Sorry,
now.
go on.
No, that's it.
This is maybe a good time. This is a topic I really was going to cover later, but I think it's a good time now, is that your focus on solving the problem, because I think there's a difference and lots of different ways of doing it, and all of them are fine, of the people behind, like, the people's motivation to want to start a business. And if there's different categories, then you fall into the one that's like what you just described was, oh, I could get hired by a tech company who just wants to like buy this from me and hire me to work on it. Or I could get investment, or I could get kind of bought out, or I could just launch the product myself and just make, like, that would be my, then all on my back then. And all these options for you, because you're just focused on wanting to solve this problem and not on, I want to have a company and I want to have employees and I want to grow. Do you want to say more about that now? Like, that just maybe I said too much already.
Yeah, sure.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I've learned over the last year is that you often have like two kinds of founders. You have people who want to solve problems and people who want to be founders. And there isn't a right or a wrong. There are some people that I know who are just business people looking for business problems to solve because they love the idea of being a problem solver and turning it into a business, creating jobs for people, and ultimately solving problems in the process. That's just not me. I didn't start a company to be a founder. That is not the goal here. I just really want to solve this problem, and I think that the only way to solve it in the way that I want to do it is to start a company. Because what I found was that going through this, I wanted complete autonomy and control of what the product was, what the marketing messaging was, how everything would work together. And the only way to do that is to not give up that control to another company. You have to do it yourself. But that obviously comes with the stress of starting a company. And this, like, honestly, this was a good 7-8 months of last year going, do I really want to do this? Like, and you know, it's not like just, do I really want to do this? It's, am I good enough to do this? Am I healthy enough to do this? Am I the right person? Like, I think the biggest thing stopping anyone progress or succeed is themselves. And yep. I think if you didn't doubt yourself so much, then you would just do things. But like,
I think that's really true.
A lot
of the questions that we had coming in was like, how do I know if I can do it? How do I know how to make the right decisions? How do I know? It's like, well, yeah, we don't know.
I don't think you ever do. Go on, Adam, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just about to say, Jorn was asking also, how do you overcome those doubt moments, and how do you battle those? Which I think is a good question to ask.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't think anyone is ever ready to start a company, or if it's ever the right time. Like, I'm still working out, but the only way to work it out is to have a go. It either works or it doesn't. And I think that's kind of the way that you have to look at it. You know, I think Tim Ferriss has this concept that he talked about in one of his podcasts, which was, instead of goal setting, you do like fear setting, which is like, you look at something and you go like, what is the worst that could happen if I did this? What is like if I started this company, that means I quit my job and I had to go, what's the worst that could happen? That's the first part. And the second part is, what would you have to do to get back on track to where you were before? Mm-hmm. And I think what you often find when you do that is that, well, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and I just get another job. And I'm like, oh, well, back where I was. Like, it's not actually that complicated. But we, like, our brains do everything we can to kind of make it as hard and complicated as we want it to be. And it was so terrified of the unknown. I mean, I definitely am. I'm so scared of what I don't know that it prevents you from just having a go and doing it. Sorry. Yeah, no, go on.
I was going to say, Jorn, also, maybe just that question came in just before you said that, was, do you have some tricks on how to overcome doubt moments? And I think you just gave the answer, but what was the name? Was there a method or a person or from somewhere that those things came from? He
calls it fear setting.
Fear setting.
I think instead of goal setting, fear setting. So I think it's called that. But I think if you Google Tim Ferriss in enough words, then you'll probably find it.
Oh, it was Tim Ferriss. Was it Tim Ferriss did this?
Yeah, Tim.
Okay,
Tim
that's
Ferriss,
what I missed.
yeah.
I missed it was Tim Ferriss. Okay, Tim Ferriss, fear setting. I see the guys Googling to get the links for everyone. I really want to have that link. Thanks, Adam. Awesome. There's also a question that's coming from the crowd. We're kind of like shifting back gear now. Did you? So the big question is about other people being skeptical. I think this question came through when you were showing showing decibels and what they are, which, by the way, I also just wanted to say to you that there were some really great comments. It's like, this is clearly why companies founded by designers are a great thing. It looks so slick and sexy, which I completely agree.
Thank you.
And also so cool, looks like a game changer. I love that people are excited about this. I felt exactly the same way when I saw this. It's like, why has this never happened? Why has this never happened? But then there's this question that came soon after this. It's like, did you experience any backlash? I think, yeah. And how did you handle it? Like, people being skeptical about the product or the idea. What people did you try and start talking to? And was there backlash? And what did you do? Backlash and like skepticism and
skepticism. Yeah. I mean, things like everyone will be skeptical in their own way. I think so much of it is about resilience. because it's doing anything different. Like, and that doesn't even have to be like starting a job. That can just be wearing different clothes. Like you're doing something different that is going against the grain in some shape or form. Not everyone's going to agree. And it comes down to whether or not you believe in it. Maybe that sounds really cliche, but like, this is like, I just really, really want to solve this. Like, it's something I really care about. And I'm so sure that it's possible. Now, I'm not saying that the solution that I have will work, but I know that it is possible to find a solution. And I think if you just stick at something long enough, you'll probably find it. I think that the thing is giving up, which is the thing which stops you from finding solutions. But if you stick at it long enough, you might find it. And there's always going to be skepticism. I mean, plenty of people have been like, oh, you're building a hardware product in the med tech industry. You're trying to, like, instead of like campaigning to make hearing aids more approachable, you're just trying to change the way everyone in the world thinks. It's like, if you have that on paper, it's like, okay, that's really hard. That's really difficult. But I'll have a go.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Have a go.
I know that you've done a lot also. We're really jumping around in the flow of what we discussed previously to this, but you've really done a lot to figure out what those skepticisms are, like just gone out and trialed. And I'm kind of really embarrassed that I actually forgot to prepare.
Dee was helping me with some user testing.
I've got them in the other room. I can grab them. But you've done a lot to find out, to not just like be stuck in your like, no, they're really great, don't tell me what your problems are. Like, you've really got to try and
so maybe that's a good point. I guess like the main kind of reason why anyone, I guess, may or may not have heard of me if they've never met me before, it's because I've been making videos about this project for the last year. And so, I started kind of the year with like 2 goals based on like, so how can I continue this project? And if I want investment, I need to have 2 things. I need to prove that it's possible to build the product, and I need to prove that people actually want to buy the product and it's not just me. Because at the moment, it's just me. I tell all my friends who have got perfect hearing about the idea, and they're like, hey, cool idea. I'm sure it will be successful. And I'm like, right, okay, until someone's willing to put money down, you don't really know. So these are the 2 things I wanted to work out. So one of them is about building a community and an audience of people. And the other one is about building a product. And I'm just one person, and I'm sitting in my bedroom, and I'm like, I have no idea how to do either of these things, let alone both of them at the same time. And I was talking to my flatmate, who said like, hey, why don't you just do these things together at the same time, build the product, and then also try and build like a social media following around you building the product. And that's when I started this video, like literally this camera angle about a year ago, saying, hey, I'm Nick, and I'm going to design my own pair of custom hearing aids in my bedroom. And
I know you guys are riveted by the conversation, Adam and Marty, but can you go find Nick's channel and and post it in the thing? Sorry, go on, Nick.
And yeah, that very much shaped the rest of the year, like actually up until now. So I've just been designing, like literally, like I've got some sketches and stuff, like literally like designed how it could look and stuff, and then just started like making prototypes of like how this could work or fit.
Hold them up for a bit longer because the screen end closer to the
I mean, like they're all terrible and they don't work. But like what I realized is that everyone loved seeing it not work, and so that kind of became like a big part of the whole thing. It's like, I'm going to show everyone just how hard it is to do anything. And then so many people were like, hey, keep going. Like, I think like sharing the realities of starting a business, like the difficult part of it, was actually what made people kind of latch onto it. And over the year, kind of built a little bit of a following, one on like LinkedIn with a lot of different a lot of other designers, a lot of people in the hearing tech industry who would listen to things I was saying, because I guess part of this is me saying like, hey, I'm kind of trying to be a founder and build a product. Another part of me is just kind of preaching about, I hate hearing aids, they suck. Like something needs to change. And then you realize that when you vocalize things that you care about, people who agree will put their hand up and be like, hey, I agree with you. I'll come on this journey with you. And it was a super interesting journey and process where I think people have just have been following along and kind of grouping en masse around this idea. And so this whole kind of video series has got to a point now where I've had people from all over the world like offer support to actually build the product with me and move forward.
Because you haven't really, you're alone, like this is your thing, but you're not really alone, right? You've had these people.
No. So I have a co-founder now, which is awesome. So I actually started this project saying, hey, I'm going to build this. It shouldn't be too hard. I just need to like 3D print some stuff and then like put some electronics inside. But like I don't know how to 3D print and I don't know how to do electronics. So it was pretty hard for me. But by kind of like just being really open about, hey, I can't do this. Can anyone help? That kind of allowed people to go, yeah, sure. Like it doesn't take me very long to do it. And they get to kind of be part of this kind of journey. And so I approached a friend who I used to work with at IXTS called Gray, and he offered to like help me with some 3D printing of some different shapes and stuff. And so, we started out with this kind of weird shape and then different ear hooks to try and make it actually fit on your ear. It's so terrible. And then like these ones here, and we wanted to do like the whole like design process really well. And so that means like when you have an idea, don't just work on it in a closed room and not show anyone. So like a large part of this was showing the world through video, like, hey, this is what we're working on, and getting people's feedback. And so people would go like, oh, I don't really like this, or they say, oh, I really like that one. And you kind of use the feedback from the world to kind of influence a lot of the product development. And we did some fun videos where I wore these very ugly plastic prototypes on my ears and went out in public and like spoke to people and asked what they thought. And the really interesting thing with this was that because it was black, everyone thought that they were headphones. And then so we changed it to the same thing, but this kind of like transparent material. And everyone's like, oh, what's that? I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I realized that actually the color of the material changed how people, like what people thought it was. And this is just like another like really reinforcing the learning of like, you need to talk to people along the design journey. Otherwise I would have just continued building a headphone looking product that wouldn't have worked with anyone. So yeah, it was super interesting, and it was getting a little bit further along. Posted like one video on TikTok, and some hearing aid technician in Uruguay was like, hey, like, do you need some help like putting some electronics inside that? And I was like, yes, please. And he just put some electronics inside it, and now we had like one device with electronics inside. So it's just like, it was very much kind of a team effort with like a lot of random people around the world, different audiologists lending their like a bit of advice, sending me like small kind of electronic components. Like this is a speaker from a hearing aid that otherwise is quite expensive. I mean, like hearing aids are super expensive. Go on, sorry.
This kind of all worked, right? Is this right? This all works, like people saying, oh, cool, I'd love to work on this with you. I'd love to help you with the electronics, because you had the videos. Is that right?
I think that's the only reason.
And you could even reach out to people and say, hey, are you interested? Like, check out the videos I've done. Like, even if they wouldn't discover it on their own, just you documenting and showing, hey, I'm doing this. I'm trying, like, I'm really working, like I'm learning and I'm trying. People can see that you are someone that's actually doing something. Because if I would get a cold email from someone saying, hey, could you help out with a project? Like, no, but if I see the journey that you've been on, it's really makes it. I think this is a good takeaway for people too.
Yeah, I think there's a few parts to it. And I mean, one is be vocal about something that you care about, and be vocal about like a change that you want to see in the world and how you aren't able to change it. But if you can get people to kind of buy into the idea, because I think that was really what I put out a lot in the videos, like, hey, I don't know how to actually do this, but this needs to change, right? And then you get people go, yeah, you know, it does need to change. And when you have like hundreds of people liking or commenting on something, and people see the figurative crowd form around something, then someone looks at the video and goes, hey, I can actually be part of this journey. I can move it one step forward. Then like they kind of would like to be a part of it. And it's not even really an ask. And to be honest, I haven't actually asked anyone to help. People have just offered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that everyone has just offered. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been super cool. And I think it's showing your vulnerability and showing what you're not good at is underrated. But this is the other thing, right?
I also just want to give, like, we are running out of time, but I just want to keep.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But I want to hear that thing. I just wanted to get in there and say we've kind of just got to, like, we should start taking some questions and things soon. But say that sentence now, and then we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just an important thing for me to keep in mind. It's like people say like Instagram is the Instagram reality is not a reality because you're just seeing snapshots into someone's life, which is like the best moments of their life, right? LinkedIn is Instagram of the professional world. LinkedIn is just like, here's a snapshot into my perfect job where like everything's amazing, and like I just got promoted for the 12th time and haven't shown any of the failures that you've done in between. And so like I love and hate LinkedIn at the same time, because it's such a false image of how the working world is. And so I think as soon as you show any reality, but in its most purest form, I mean, you even get these like virtue signaling kind of posts, like everything went wrong, but like I'm so good at my job, so blah blah blah, and shut up. But like I think the more kind of honest vulnerability you can show about how hard things are in the real world, the more people kind of buy into that. And I learned that a lot this year. But you know, even me saying this, the videos that I've shown have all been me succeeding at one step of the journey. They've all been quite kind of positive. I've explained problems and stuff, but a lot of them are about me overcoming problems. I haven't done videos about everything that sucked in between because so much sucks in between. People are like, you're making so much progress. And I'm just like, well, you don't know, like I released the video 2 weeks ago. You don't know that the last 2 weeks was me sitting here going, what am I doing? Like, I think like people don't, it's so easy to look at like anyone else's job or business from the outside and see it as like a linear path of just getting better and better and better. But you don't kind of take into account that so much of that journey is just dormant time where you feel like you're doing nothing. I think I spent like 3 months last summer just sitting at this desk going like, right, what am I doing? And thinking like, oh, the whole world is waiting for something. Yeah. So I think like the biggest thing that I wish I was told before was that like you will have no idea what you're doing the whole way through the process. It's not just at the beginning and then you start and then suddenly all these ideas come. It's like, I still don't have any idea what I'm doing right now, but it's just keep moving, just do something and you're making progress. Like make progress in the wrong direction, but still progress. Yeah. And like just by moving in some regard, and there will be times where you don't move, which is what happened to me for so much of last year. I felt like I literally had done nothing for months. And I was like, people are waiting for another video update from me and I haven't done anything.
That must have been good accountability. Like, I'm going to do another video. What should I talk about? Oh yeah, actually I have learned something. I have figured something out. But okay, Nick, we have to like, this is like my job. I'm not doing it very well. Yeah,
please.
I haven't been watching the chat, guys. Are there questions that we've missed that have come along the way already in the chat? Okay. So now is the time, and we're like wrapping up, like closing in the next 15 minutes, and we've got a bit of wrap up to do, but now is the time for at least a few minutes of questions.
I think there was one question before, a little bit based on the product development side. Like, one around, could this be something that you develop into headphones for everyone? And another one was, is there a version 2? No, yeah, like a version 2.0, what comes in the next versions in the future?
Yeah, I feel like this could be a long answer. Is there a short version, Nick?
Yeah, well, they can be part and parcel of the same thing. So realistically, headphones and hearing aids are pretty much the same thing already. They're just packaged and marketed very differently, but they're ultimately a microphone and a processor and a speaker, which is like AirPods, right? So they already kind of do the same thing. The question is mostly about power consumption. If you're streaming music all the time, then you're not really going to have enough power to enhance the way that you hear the world. So it might be in the first version that we stick purely to hearing enhancement to kind of MVP, like solve the first problem we're trying to solve. But version 2 is more kind of focused around how can we bring additional features into this. Also for people outside of purely like the hearing loss world, I think like everyone, there will become a point where like everyone can have access to hearing enhancement. So even if you've got perfect hearing, there's still plenty of situations where it's difficult to hear, being in a crowd, being in like a really loud restaurant. And this technology, we're on the precipice of like a really interesting audio tech revolution in some ways, where like we can separate voices from noise. And so I think going forward, the kind of version probably 10.0 rather than 2.0 is going to be more hearing enhancers for everyone, not just people who could use hearing aids.
Cool. Oh, there's one more question that just popped in. Maybe I can just read it out. Damn, this is a meaty question. How did you approach the manufacturing aspect? This seems to be really hard and difficult with physical hardware products. But
yeah,
to do it now,
so
Nick. I can get a thing ready.
We like there's two parts to this question as well. The first is you're never going to have all the skills that you need to start a company. Like I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm not even an industrial engineer. So when it comes to manufacturing, like I actually can't do most of it. And so I think the first thing you can do is just lean into whatever skills that you do have, because no founder has ever started a company with all of the skills they need, be it marketing, business, development, everything else. You have to just focus on what you can do and get it to a point where other people will help you move forward. And what's happened is by kind of focusing on all the design stuff that I could do, building the website, doing videos, ultimately promoting the idea. So it's like marketing, but I'm not a marketer. I'm just talking about stuff and making videos. Got to a point where by the end of the year, 5 different hearing aid manufacturers reached out to us and said, hey, would you like a technology partner to actually put the electronics inside? And to which I said, yes, please. And so now we have a manufacturer in the US, or a technology partner in the US who has manufacturing contacts in China. And we're currently in conversations with them to put the electronics and get the manufacturing in place for our first version. We just need money to do that. And that's maybe a slightly different topic, but that's how we're kind of approaching the manufacturing aspect. I think there's always so much to do before you even get there. Do people even want the product? Like, what's the product going to look like? How are people going to interact with it? Like all of these different things. Work on whatever you can work on up until the point where there's nothing else you can do until you need to move forward. And that's when you ask for help and support elsewhere.
Maybe this is a good segue, Nick, with the manufacturing question. You said like, oh yeah, first we need money, but also we need to find out if people are actually willing to buy this thing. We're not going to manufacture a ton of things if people aren't willing to buy. So should I pop up my little pre-prepared thing now?
Please do.
Am I sharing the right thing?
It says you started sharing your screen, but I can't see. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
So I can give a little context around this. And what we did over the last like few months is that we built up a wait list. Because ultimately there were the 2 goals I set out with. 1, can we build the product? And 2, do people want it? So we built a wait list where we've got around like 600 people now on the wait list who have shown at least some interest. However, thank you, Dee. And And still, if you go to an investor and you're like, hey, we've got a lot of people on the wait list, they will probably say, cool, but who actually wants to buy it? And I think that until you can get people to part with money, then it's kind of hard to really convince investors that like people want this product, like they're willing to put money down towards something. And I think this is what we're trying to do now, is build up our like reservations list, or ultimately like a pre-order list, where we're asking people to put down a deposit of 10%. And in return, like, because those will just help us so much to convince investors to kind of invest and move this project forward. We'll give all those people like first primary access when we release the product, and also 30% off the buying price at the end. So yeah, I mean, if you want to support us, then you can also reserve something. And yeah, I mean, you can ask for a refund at any time, no questions asked. But every reservation helps us kind of take this project forward one step at a time.
Yay. Okay, so maybe we need to wrap this up now, but yeah, I've already put my pre-order in, and I'd love you've learned so much, and you've done you've tried, and we haven't seen all of these in between moments where you've tried things or felt like, oh my gosh, I've just spent months on this and now I've got to completely change the direction. We didn't see all this in between, but I have seen at least the story that you've just told us. I've seen those high points where you're like, wow, we've made a big learning today. Oh, we figured out that we like how to, like, I remember talking to you when you were really still trying to figure out the wording and the like, how do we tell people what these are? And now it just feels like punchy and slick and clear. Yeah. And seeing this, like, oh, how do you get into manufacturing? Oh, we don't have to like raise 100 grand. We have to figure out how to get people to pre-order. Like, I love these little tweaks in the system that you figured out, like you've talked to people and you've tried things and you figured out this, like, okay, what's the way to make this happen? With like, you know, what's the worst that could happen things, like maybe let's try not to go to that huge, like, how do we raise millions of dollars, but do maybe we can get manufacturing done in this other way of like convincing people that there's people to pay for these things. Anyway, I love the story. I love the journey. So thank you very much, Nick, for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing this story with us. I think it's the kind of thing that people don't talk about often, just that, like, the real story behind it, and not the virtue signally, like, I'm the best founder ever story. So thank you very much for being with us here today. And
thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Nick. And with that, so our next is a little final wrap up before we close up the session. Thanks everyone for being here if it's the evening for you. Our next event is going to be in May. And Adam, actually, could you introduce, because you've spoken with her?
Yeah, sure. We've got actually a really like a bit of a giant in the industry in terms of user research. And she is the founder of Standby, which is a design research agency. And she's been in the industry for, I don't know, 20 plus years. She's really going to deep dive into ethnographic research and design research and all the different ways of that. It'll be a really exciting event. So if you want to learn how to understand your customers better, that's what we'll be talking about next time.
Great. And if you want to, if you're not already and you want to just be notified, because that we haven't got that event that you can actually sign up for yet. So you can join the mailing. There's all these ways. You can join the mailing list, get on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, something, so that you'll be notified about the next event when we actually post it. So do that now if you haven't already. And that's the end of the event. I thought there was another slide in between there that was community announcements. So maybe I'll just do that now. Is there anything that anyone has to announce, like you're hiring, like you've got another event that you want to tell people about, that you run a meetup, anything like that? Open floor. And if no one speaks, then Marty and Adam, you can post your referral links.
Yeah, Zalando is always hiring. So if you want to join Zalando, get in touch with Adam or myself. That's pretty clear. Happy to have that conversation.
We also, me and Marty also mentor on ADP lists. So if you're looking for design mentoring, or a young designer or looking to crack into the field, then you can find our profiles on ADP list and book a mentoring session with us. One of my mentors is actually joining Zalando on Friday, so that is actually really exciting news. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not that
Anyone
that's the
else?
goal. The goal is to help.
Anybody else has any asks, any shows?
I just would have something to announce. Andres already mentioned it in the chat. So we are at the moment working on a solution to facilitate documentation in the medical field, but we just know about the contents of all that and got absolutely no clue about user interfaces and user experience. So if anybody decided after today that they don't want to work for someone else but for themselves, maybe just drop us a message so we can get in contact. And yeah, let's see if we fit together in the end.
Is it paid work, or is it like you're actually
at the moment we're working for free as well. We're trying to make our first money, but yeah, at the moment.
Just wanted to clarify for anyone. Yeah, cool. But that's it's everything is can be an exciting opportunity. Like there's lots of people in the community that actually would really love to work on something and get that experience of working. Like actually that sounds really interesting to me, because medical documentation sounds like something that could be really improved. And really, so cool. And do you have something that you can post, or just to share your LinkedIn or somewhere that people can actually contact you? You can post in the chat quickly before we go, or whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm just gonna post my mail address.
Cool.
Because I'm really unprofessional at connecting. Sorry for that.
That's great. Cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say we can share it with that, but maybe we shouldn't post your email address in other places. Anyone else last minute to announce anything? Otherwise, say a huge thank you to everyone for joining. A huge thank you to Nick Morgan-Jones for being our guest speaker today and sharing huge journey that's been really a super deep insight into what it feels like and what it is actually like before kind of taking that leap. We all get to hear about it ourselves. Thank you very much, Nick. And we look forward to.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to everyone. Have a good evening or day wherever you are, and see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
You can stop the recording.